Welcome csc230 class. This is EX3 and we're going to be putting this picture. You don't have to use this exact picture, but some picture. You could even use pictures about summer if you want, but I'm going to use this Vikings picture. And this is kind of the finished product of what this exercise will look like. We're still going to use our EX2 folder, so we're not going to make a new folder or anything. We're just going to put our picture on here. We're going to use an image source just to put a picture, and we're also going to use a figure and a fig caption, and we'll put some CSS in that as well. So this is the finished product, so I'm going to get started. All right, what I'm going to do first is we're going to look for a picture. Now I'm going to look for the Vikings guy, so I'm just going to do a quick search, and the guy's name is Ragnar, so I'm just going to look for Ragnar Vikings, and I'll just go find him quick. And there's some pictures of him. I'll go to images, and I want to look for something that's kind of facing in. And I also want to use something that's about 300 pixels. Now, we're going to resize it, so don't worry about what the size is here. I think this is the image I used right here, so that's fine. So I'm going to use this one, and you can see it's 600 by 338, and we want to make it like somewhere around 300, nothing bigger than that. So I'm going to click on this one. I think that'll work. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up in Pixlr. So I don't have to download this. What I could do here is right-click on the image, and I could say copy image address. And that'll copy the URL, so I don't have to download it to my computer and then upload it. And I'm going to go to pixlr.com, and that's our online image editor, free version of Photoshop, sort of. And I'm going to go down to the, scroll down to the web editor on the left side, and I'll open that up. And if you ever get a message about plugin or anything, if it asks you to leave, hit leave, and then it'll ask you to allow the plugin to run, because you need the Flash plugin to run this application. All right, so once you get to here, if you're here, you're fine. So we're going to open image from URL because we just copied the image address, which is the URL. So we're going to open the image from URL, and it's hard to see, but it's actually highlighted. So if you just paste, Control V or Command V if you're on a Mac, if you just paste, that's all you have to do, and hit OK, and there it is. It's opened up right from the web. And the first thing I'm going to do before I resize it is just crop it, because there's a lot of image area on the left and right side that we don't really need. I don't need it to be this wide. So I'm going to use the crop tool in Pixlr, and that's the one up here. And I'll just find a nice area to kind of go around here. And I think they let you kind of resize it after the fact, so if you want to move this around a little bit, but that's probably fine. That's enough of Ragnar right here. And then you just have to hit your Enter key or Return. And now it's cropped. Now I have a little bit on the bottom there that got kind of cropped off, so I'll just crop a little bit off the bottom again. And now it's good. And now that I cropped it, I also want to resize it. I want to make sure it's not 600 pixels, and I don't want my browser to resize it. I want to resize it ahead of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Image, Image Size, and it's saying 472 because I did crop it, and I wanted around 300. So I'll make it 300. You don't have to worry about the height, whatever the height is. And again, if you use an image that's taller, you could probably go narrower and have it longer. But 300 to 213 is probably fine right now. I'll leave it on constrained proportion so it doesn't distort it, and I'll hit OK. And that's about what I want. And as far as lights and darks and things like that, it's a little dark in the shadows. So I'm going to go to Image Adjustments or Adjustment on Pixlr, and I'm going to go to Levels. And this is where you could adjust the darks, the lights, and the midtones. You can even, if the darks are too dark, you could even go to the output and lighten things up a little bit, lighten up the shadows a little. They don't have our shadows and highlights in Pixlr. And then here I have a little gap down at the end, so I'll just lighten things up just a little bit for the screen. I don't want to bleach anything out, but that's probably good. And I'll hit OK. And since I resized this, I resized it quite a bit, you know, going from almost half the size, I also want to sharpen it a little bit. So to do that, I could go to Filter, Unsharp Mask, and leave the threshold down to 0, put the radius at 2, and probably 50% is all you need. And I'll just hit OK. It'll just give it a little bit of crispness for what you want. So now my image is all ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is save this, because it's all ready to save. And I'm just going to do this within Pixlr. Don't go up to your menu up here if you see that. I'm going to go Save, and I'll just call it Ragnar for now. And I'll hit OK, and I don't have to worry about the .jpeg. It'll ask for that later. And now it's going to ask me to save this, and I do have one that's saved here already that I tried before, so I'm just going to save over it. It'll save replace, and I'll do that. If you're doing it for the first time, it won't do that. So now I have it saved. You don't have to save this at all because it's saved. So you could just close out of here. You don't have to save this, and you could even leave Pixlr if you want. and it says leave, so I'll leave the site and I'll get out of here of all my Ragnar Vikings photos. Now the next thing I want to do, because I'm going to be working in EX2, remember we don't have to make a new folder, we're going to work in the same one that we use for our CSS. I just want to find that photo of Ragnar that I just saved down, so make sure you know where you save that down. Actually, I didn't explain that, but I just saved it down to like a csc230 folder. I just had like a little exercise folder here. So you'd save it somewhere on your hard drive, and then what you're going to do to get it into here, it's very easy. You just drag it right from one of your folders right into the image folder for EX2 CSS. Make sure you see it right on top of your image folder so that you'll have two images in your IMG folder. One will be your EX2 header, the other will be the Ragnar or whatever image you happen to use that's going to go on your web page. So that's all you have to do there. So now we're ready to put that in our web page. So the next step of putting it in our web page is we're going to go down to our HTML. I'm looking at my CSS right now. Now again, I have my index.html open, and if you didn't have it open, so I'll open up my index and I'll scroll down, and where we're going to put the image is going to be right after the headline. So we're going to put it right here, and you might say, well, why put it there? And we're actually going to float it to the right of everything else, to the right of all the paragraphs. So I'm going to put it right here after the H1 within the main section, and I'm just going to do an IMG src. Our source is our property, and our property is going to be the address of the image. So I'm just going to do Ragnar.jpg. Now that's not it, because remember we have to put in the folder name, so I have to do img/ with a / so that it's going to the right folder. We have to put that full address. So it's going to the IMG directory, and then it's going to Ragnar, and then we would close off our tag. And that's all we really need. What we should do though is go inside here and put a width equals, and I think it was like 300, and you don't need px when you're using HTML. And then there was a height, and if you forget your height, which I forget it right now, if you forget your height, you could actually just go over here and double click on this, open it up, and it'll say 213. So, and you could close that up. So it's 300 by 213. So I'll put in quotes 213, and that's all I need. And if you also want to put one last thing in here, you could put an alt tag and just put alt equals, and I'll just put Vikings pic for right now, just so there's some description of what it is, and that should also be in quotes. So I'll put that around quotes. So that's my alt text, just so if somebody has text to speech or something like that and they hover over that image, they know what it is and what it's for. So it's not that important. It's just a little decoration on our page. So that's our image source. Now if I preview this, I'm going to go to preview, live preview file, and again I'm going to open up this thing so I see it in a tab. So this is where I see it, and this is where it is right now. Now I don't want to have his picture right there. I actually want to move it over here. So that's what we're going to do next, but at least we have it in our file and it's on our page right now. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to close up this tab because I don't want to be viewing it in this tab. Not sure why it's showing 2 there, but I'm going to close this up, and then I'm going to do a file save, and I'll save my HTML file. So again, we found a picture, we copied the URL, we went to Pixlr, we did some image adjustments to it to get it to the right size and crop it, and then we copied it to our image folder in Cloud9. Now I didn't go through the part of opening up your workspace, but you should be used to doing that already. And then what we did, once we put it in our image folder, we put it on our page using image source, the IMG tag, and source is the property that really tells it where it is and what its name is. And what we're going to do next is use some CSS and some HTML5 tags to kind of position it on the page. So I'm going to take a break here, and we'll finish up with our CSS in the next video.